Welcome everybody. In today's video I want to talk about why you should play SSF. As a disclaimer, I'm not here to tell you how you should enjoy your video game. This video is merely meant as food for thought to maybe make you think about at least giving SSF a fair try, because I think a lot of people are missing out on the enjoyment of a true SSF experience if you approach it the right way. As an additional info, also remember you can migrate SSF to trade at any time. So giving it a try, and if it really doesn't work out for you at all, you can still migrate and basically have no downside from that. To get the most fun out of SSF, it is important to have realistic expectation going into it. Especially as a new player and somebody who only played trade before. It will very likely be the case that you will not reach as far as you did in previous leagues, but that's okay, because like SSF is a very different experience, and the progression and reaching your own goals will be a lot more rewarding and fulfilling. For example, if you start out new in SSF, your first goal might only be finish the campaign. Or kill that one campaign boss that always gave you troubles. Maybe you had a boss where you always went to the trading site and bought a couple of resistance gear or whatever. And then in SSF you can work towards that specifically until you defeat him. And then once you did that, you can obviously still go further. But when you set yourself good goals that you can actually reach, fulfilling those goals just feels a lot more rewarding, because you did it all on your own with no outside things. Now let's go to the actual reasons why you should give SSF a try. Number one, there's no better time to start. 0.5 brings resistance swap and unique target farming with ritual. This just massively improves SSF, even for gear dependent builds. Resistance swap is something they add in the new runes of Aldur League, where there will be crafting materials that make you able to swap resistances to another type. And they changed ritual to only contain endgame rituals, to only contain uniques and omens. So if you have a build, for example, that needs low to medium rare unique, so not the absolute top end super rare uniques, but the common and maybe uncommon uniques, you should definitely still be able to pull these builds off in SSF. Number two, gear progression is much more meaningful. Every small upgrade counts, and you will not skip large parts of it due to trade. I really think this whole way of thinking about your character and progression is lost in trade. For example, you're still wearing those gloves from Act 3 while reaching maps. You can just go to a website or in-game browser, click and buy a new pair with tons of resistances, perfect stats, maybe not super high modifier, but all the stats you want, and then you will not touch that slot for probably another 10 or 20 hours of gameplay, and just have no progression in that slot anymore. You're basically skipping a million steps of the gear progression. And this also ties into the next point, number 3. In SSF, it's a lot more about the journey than the destination. Even if you don't reach deep into endgame, you can still have a lot of fun and rewarding moments from gear upgrades and cool drops. I think PoE 2 does an excellent job of making progression of your build, even in the first few hours, very fun. Every minute there's the next thing. You have a new skill unlock, new tier of support gems, new skill gems dropping in higher level, new base types dropping, and then you have your ascendancy, and you have all these small things working towards and making the build come together, and you don't really need trade for that. It still works in an SSF environment, especially when you have a decent plan. You don't need to have a completely planned out build even in SSF. Obviously having a good concrete plan helps, but you don't need to go into this with like every single detail known already. You can just go into this experience with like, wanna do like a two-handed mace build. Maybe you don't even know yet what skills you're gonna do, and then you can like test things out, like especially the like once you're like in Act 3, 4, when the game becomes like a little bit harder. By that point, usually you have a couple spare skill gems and spare support gems, so you can like even try things out a little bit. But yeah, compared to PoE 1, in PoE 2 there are a lot more builds that are working and are functional from the get-go, and you don't need to play like some obscure leveling build that you don't even want to play just because it's like your build that you want to play is not working. Like with the exception of like some builds that like really need certain uniques, or like maybe like a certain level of charge generation or whatever, most builds function very well in PoE 2 from the get-go. Next point, number 4. SSF forces you to engage in most, if not all, systems. Even for me as an avid SSF enjoyer, this sometimes can like feel a little bit like a downside, but it really teaches you the game much more, because you really need to engage with all these different pieces of content. So unless a certain mechanic has an absolute mandatory or build enabling reward that you absolutely need, you can for the most part choose to ignore mechanics that you really don't want to engage with. If your build does need like one of these like build enabling mechanics or uniques from a certain mechanics, it's very likely you would not start with that as a league start, for example, anyway, and maybe don't even plan on like really doing that build in SSF, but then once you have a character that reaches like enough depth in endgame, you can still like try to farm it, and if you do drop it, you can still do the build. Next point, number 5, you can feel much more free from the pressure of the market, because the whole playing as efficient as possible, that's a thing that I noticed, like especially like over the last like 5 to 10 years of like I always played like action RPGs in like this SSF and like doing my own thing, but with like all these like resources and build guides and videos and all of these things coming out, it always feels like people like want to play the game in a way where like because all this information is available, they feel bad for just trying out stuff. And for me, trying out stuff and not having the game be solved like on day one, it's just so much more rewarding and fun. And this efficiency a lot of the time puts just a lot of pressure on player, and in my opinion it's a very artificial pressure, and you just need to wrap your head around it and change your own like mindset of how you think about it. Like one of the major goals in SSF is to just do your own thing. It's like the number one thing that like I personally enjoy about SSF the most. So while SSF in some capacities is a little bit more limiting, where like certain build enabling uniques or certain builds don't work until you have like a minimum of like gear. At the same time, SSF can also feel more free, because you can play stuff that might not be as good or efficient, but because you don't directly compete with the other players in time and resources, it can just feel a lot more free. In a trade environment, oftentimes you would ask yourself, why am I trying this off meta idea and not progress as fast as I could if I would just play a meta build? Because you could farm anything essential to the other build with the meta build and then later do the build. In this SSF environment, you don't even have that pressure, and you can just do your thing. I think like another thing that is like really important to this point, just choose a skill, an archetype, a theme that you just enjoy and like. you don't need to have this like 100% planned out, and it doesn't need to be like the best thing in the world, but having like a rough guideline of what kind of character do you want to do. I want to do a two-handed mace build. I want to do like a freezing quarterstaff monk. I want to do like a minion like summoner type character, like, and you don't need to exactly know which skills you use. You can just like go in and try stuff out. And the last point, which is kind of like a bonus point, and it's like a middle ground between trade and SSF. If you really can't convince yourself giving SSF a try, what you could do is ask some of your friends to do a private league. That's something I have done in the, I think, last, I don't know, maybe like 5 to 6 years. We have done this a lot. Not on every single league, but on many leagues, where with a group of like 3, 4, 5, 6 friends doing like a private league and having this group found environment. Essentially, these are very similar to SSF, but you have more people that get random loot. So random rare drop uniques, and like some like rare, like for example, +2 minion helmets, +2 skills, whatever. And then if you have, for example, a friend group and you are all in the same guild in-game, you can have a guild stash, and then just people can dump their generally good gear into the guild stash. It's like a really good thing that we always do, where we basically dump everything that is good, but we don't need that right now for our build or character. Or maybe we had a good item and we found an upgrade, and the old item is still a good item because it was like +2 skill levels or whatever. Or also in this environment, with many people, there is a very high chance that there are people that like every type of mechanic, because like sometimes a single player maybe doesn't like breach or delirium or ritual, and in these type of scenarios, you can basically have someone only doing breach because they absolutely love breach, but maybe they don't love ritual, and you yourself love ritual but you don't like breach. And then with these like 2, 3, 4 players, everybody kind of doing a little bit different stuff and accumulating different kinds of resources. And then, for example, those players could exchange omens and catalysts. Or you could just, like, if you are getting a lot of omens that you don't need yourself, just put them in your guild stash and then other people can use them. And then in these group found environments, if you put resources into the rest of the group, they will get better, and they will themselves hopefully put value back into the group pool of resources, essentially. Alright, I hope this video at least makes you think about giving SSF a try. I know SSF will still be the minority game mode in these types of games, but I honestly think some people are missing out on the experience because they are scared of having like a slower or like less progression. I think SSF can be fun even for people with very little time, and you don't really need to like know live the game to have a great time with SSF. Yeah, that's it for this video. In some of the next videos, I will talk about a little bit more specifics and like tips and tricks for SSF, like certain crafting methods and other things that maybe as a trade player you don't really think about. So yeah, for the time being, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.